These are separate boards that have separate memberships. So when you add them all together, we're approaching 50,000 agents in the Greater Toronto Area. I've been told that last statistics that somebody had done, there was one agent for every 143 men, women, and children in the Greater Toronto Area. Okay? That's how saturated we are. This is not
Just had
going
a
to...
client tell me I want to become a real estate agent this morning.
Yeah, I get them all the time. And I go,
Every week.
yeah? Right. Okay. Here's the challenge that we face. And I was at Dave's presentation, a remark with Dave and Adi Sahi on Tuesday. And it actually, here's agents coming and they're being shown these great, wonderful programs that are of the future that are here now that we need to be using. And a couple of agents are going, well, things are selling so fast, why would I pay $250 for that? And I finally got fed up with it and said, here's the deal. If you don't stand out, you are a commodity. You are one of 50,000. And here's the thing. What is a commodity? We can all name commodities. Barrel of oil, ounce of gold, silver, whatever you like. What's the price of a barrel of oil today? Anybody know offhand?
44 and a half.
44 bucks? Would you pay 60?
No.
Of course not. Depends on what. If there's an ounce of gold which is running probably, I don't know, I don't follow it, maybe 1,600, would you pay 2,500 for it?
Of course not.
No, of course not. No. Then why if we as agents saying, oh no, I'm not cutting my commission. No way. Here's the thing. If you're not a commodity, then you have to have added value and you have to prove it. Because otherwise you're a commodity. And what does a commodity attract? A commodity attracts people that will look at the dollar and only the dollar, there's no value added to a commodity, and say, I can get you for 3.5%. Why would I pay you 5 or 6 or 5.5 or anything? So this gets to be the question, because when you look at the numbers, and you can take some simple math, there are only 12,000 properties in the Greater Toronto Area on the market at the moment. We can all discuss why that is, but that's what it is, and yet we got 50,000 agents fighting for those maybe 15,000 listings, which means that there's only one listing for every 3 agents, if that. The average is actually, last year was 2.9. Out of the 42,500 members on the Toronto Real Estate Board last year, 35% did not do an end. 55% did 2 ends or less. 85% did 7 ends or less. I don't think you have a business in Toronto with the expenses unless you're doing at least 7 ends. I'd have to say it's a losing business. So that means only 15% of the agents are actually doing the ends. Now we don't know what the commissions on those were. And some of those people are doing it at 0.5% so they can do 150 deals. Okay? I'm not criticizing their business model, it's not mine. And I don't think that business model is in anybody that's in here. Could be, and that's okay, I'm not judging it, but I just don't think that's our mindset. So, the discussion that we want to talk about today is how not to be a commodity. What is it that we're all currently doing that stands us apart? And then, time given, what I want to do is I want to absolutely brainstorm to the silliest degree, so we're going to have some fun, I hope, as to if you were a seller, what would make you go, oh, wow, I gotta have it. Because here's the deal, and this came up in that discussion at Dave's. Their attitude was, well, things are selling so fast, why would I bother spending that money? Well, okay, first and foremost, who do we have to attract first? The seller. We have to get the listing. And as I said to them, if you don't do this stuff, you're a commodity and you're going to compete with me and you're going to lose and I'm going to take every listing you go on if we're on the same listing. because I'm doing this stuff and everything else I can find to differentiate myself, because I have to keep adding value after value after value. And the more value I can offer for the same price, I don't need to talk commission, because I'm now in front of somebody who is not looking for a commodity. And if they are, I say, oh, I'm not a commodity, I'm sorry, can I guide you to, I'll be happy to refer you to a commodity agent, because there's lots of them. So that's where I wanted to go with today, is what are we doing right now that nobody else in your marketplace, or very, very few people are doing? I've seen a couple things. I saw one recently, well, just within the past few days, which was a video for a listing. And they used a drone. But it was very different. It wasn't just a drone of the property. They started down at the lake, and they went up over the neighborhood, which was a very short distance, which is what it was saying. Hey, the lake's right here, look. And then they zoomed right down and in on the front door. And that started the video, and I went, wow, that was cool. So they said, here's where you're located. But they started at the lake and flew over a few houses and then went right to the front door. And you went, okay, I got it. So you're right down by the lake. It was a really cool video. And a very different ending, which made you go, okay, I got to see this. So there's an agent that thought, how can I differentiate myself from everybody else? Even the people that are doing drone video, I want to be different than them. So that's part of the conversation, is first off, what are we doing so that we can share it with everybody else that's working? And secondly, what could we do? And here's where it gets interesting. It was funny because Dave and I and a couple others were talking last night about the power of this group, and I didn't even go to this section. We are 30 real estate agents from all over Ontario that do not compete with each other because we have our own turfs, and yet we have an economy of scale that somebody might look at something and say, oh no, we could never do that, I could never do that, it's too expensive, and you could say, oh, but we all could. We all could as a group, and we'd be the only person in that area offering that service. So that's something we can start to look at. Okay? So that's where I wanted to go. The other thing that I want to keep in mind, and where we may take it, has anybody else read this? Utility, Y-O Utility. This book rocks. And it talks about the new reality of marketing, if you will. And it talks about the old way of marketing, the current way of marketing, and where businesses are just flying out the door because they've gone to utility. And what utility is becoming the source.
J who?
Bear, B-A-E-R.
J-B-A-E-R, J Bear. It goes on about how, and I think Mark does this very, very well, is becoming the resource for it no matter what. Hilton has an app called Hilton Helps. And you can go to Hilton Helps even though you're staying at the Marriott. And so you want to know a restaurant nearby, the quickest way to find it is Hilton Helps. You phone Hilton, you connect with Hilton Helps, and they say, oh, where are you located? Oh, well, here's some restaurants in your area. And they don't say, are you staying with us? That's not the point. It's how can we help you? And when you keep calling Hilton Helps every time you need something in a strange city, they know eventually you'll just come to Hilton. And they don't say, oh, you're not a guest of ours, I'm sorry, why don't you go to your concierge? No, they want to be your concierge no matter where you are in the world. So they're utility. There's a children's hospital down in Phoenix, Arizona. And the U.S. hospital system, we probably all understand, is very different. Those are private institutions. You have to sell your hospital to get the people to come to you. You pay the ambulance driver to drive past 3 hospitals to bring them to your hospital. Okay? Phoenix Hospital, Children's Hospital, did something interesting because there was a database of information that was provided by the government and health agencies, but no one could access it really. You could go online and you could put in searches and everything else. They just created an app, branded it, and it actually accesses that database for you. The only thing they did was build the app. They didn't even build the database. But everybody's using it around the world now. And other hospitals are finally getting it and going, wow, that's a great idea. So they didn't even have to create the database and spend the money there. All they needed to do was create an app that searched the database for you, and they branded that. And they're getting rave reviews on it, like it's nominated as one of the top apps and stuff like that. So again, that's the power of utility. So instead of marketing yourself, it's becoming the resource for people. One of the things they talk about is a company, and they do short videos on how to fix everything. In other words, they give you short videos on how to do what they do. You say, well, that seems kind of stupid, because if I can do it myself, they're losing business. No, they're not. It's a pool company. They're going gangbusters because people look at the video and go, no, this is, no. And they just pick up the phone and say, hi, yeah, I'm just looking at your video here. I don't think I can do this myself. Can you come over and do it for me? And when they were in the depths of this is when they did it, when no one was buying pools, no one was doing it because the market in the US was so bad, you couldn't keep your house, much less go at a pool. So they started this video section on everything to do, how to maintain your pool, how to fix everything, and what happened is everybody just flooded them. They increased their business by 300% in the worst market ever. Because they started giving all that they had out, and people said, that's awesome, you're my source, I trust you. It's all about trust. So you're now my pool company. And my pool guy is like that. I had a pool company that was doing the work and was just a pool company. I had a listing, and on closing day there was a problem with the heater pump. And my pool guy couldn't get him. Somebody else said, oh, well, our pool guy's in. I phoned Mark. And Mark said, well, listen, I'm in the area. Let me pop by. He popped by, and I'm freaking because the buyer's saying, we're not going to close this if that's not working. We're going to, you know. He walked in, he got his tools out, he fixed everything. And he said, that's great. And I said, what do I? He said, have a great day. I said, you're my pool guy. He fixed it. It was done. Deal closed. He's my pool guy. He's done all my work now for the last 3 years. Anyway, so that's set up what we want. First and foremost, think hard. What have you got that isn't, what's your unique value proposition that decommoditizes you? There's a word. Decommoditizes you in the marketplace. Now, some of you know my most visual one. Hello? Yeah, it's coming on. Some of you know my most visual one, and this is an old one. Of course, I've changed brands, and my new ones have, you know, Remax on them instead of Keller Williams. That doesn't matter. The idea is exactly the same, and they look essentially exactly the same. There we go. It will come.
Light.
You just hit the light.
Appear. There, it's coming. Anyway, so some of you have seen, most of you have seen my sign that, and it's amazing to me, and I figured, okay, well, the first time I do it, then everybody else is going to jump on the bandwagon, okay. I have yet to see another one of these signs unless I train the person.
But that's why you're so unique.
Okay, we can all do this. It's real easy. Okay, I just send 4 shots to the contact information here to the sign company, and they've done it in the same day for me. Like literally, I've sent this in at 9 o'clock and picked the sign up at 3. Okay, it was Fast Signs in Scarborough, but you can check with your sign companies. I can get it done much cheaper. But they nail it every time quickly, and that's what I want. So I've set it up. I have my stager. We're done staging. The photographer's in the next day. That night I get these photos. I send them the best 4 photos overnight, so they have them first thing in the morning, and I can pick up that sign, do all my listing all at the same time, and have everything launched before I put it on MLS. And here's a point, and we were just discussing this. Sometimes people look and say, because we're agents, or we're geeks, and somebody's pointed out many times that QR code, you put a QR code on the sign, like, really? The QR codes are so, was it Al Stratton?
Passe.
Was that?
Like a fax machine.
Well, yeah, they're so 2012.
Yeah.
And there's even a book written by Al Stratton that every time someone uses a QR code, a little kitten dies. True story, true story. Okay, but here's the thing. We have to stop thinking about the market. We have to stop thinking about what we think. We have to kick off our shoes. We have to go over here and be the seller. So here we are over as the seller. If I'm a 60-year-old untechnical person, and you're trying to list my house, and you can show me a sign that you can take your phone out, or my phone, better still, and go swipe, and there's all the information, they may go, wow. And if they don't, it doesn't matter. It doesn't cost me an extra penny to put it there. So if it just takes one person to go, wow, I really like that QR code thing on the sign, it may be a listing. These signs, and it's funny because I have people ask me all the time, agents, do they work? Of course I say no. They work. And they'll ask me, well, how much does it cost? It's about $130. I can get it done for half that price if I wanted to wait 4 or 5 days, but I don't want to wait. This sign made me $27,000, and it was actually, this one made 2/3 of the $27,000, because that's Norfolk Square, because one of the neighbors called me and said, hi, you've got a sign in front of 500 Norfolk Square. I said, yes I do. Do you want to see the house? No. We're on the corner. We're selling our house. It's very similar. We want that sign. We didn't talk about commission. I walked in and I started to say, well, you do the sign for oh, absolutely, good.
Where do we sign?
That was it. And they bought another house off me.
Yay.
Okay, so I got 2 ends off of that specific sign. So here's the thing. And every one of you can do it. And we don't even compete, because I don't have a listing in your neighborhood and you don't have one in mine. So that's cool. But what else are we individually doing that we should all know about, that you can say, you know what, I can do that, and it's going to stand out. So that's my add-in. That's what I'm doing that nobody else is doing, and I welcome, in fact, want all of you to start doing it. And you can say, yeah, but it's $130 and the place is going to sell overnight. Guess what? If you don't show the seller something like that, you ain't getting a listing in a competitive thing. It's a good thing we're repeat referral. But when you have to walk in and compete, and you're going to more and more, because your client is going to say, well, hold on, I had somebody knock on the door last week and tell me they would do it for 3%. Why am I paying you 5%? In fact, in a listing presentation that I had to Mike and Karen Sinclair, and I was doing the presentation, and when I got to the sign, Mike stopped me and said, whoa, Rick, hold on a second. What's this going to cost us? I said, well, Mike, what did you have in mind? He said, well, I wasn't planning on paying you more than 5%. I said, good, because that's what I charge. And I get, yeah, oh, keep going. That was it. That was our commission discussion. Okay? But if you can't do something different, then why shouldn't they take the person at 3.5%? Why not? Who can blame them? They'd be idiots not to. So we have to prove ourselves and be better. And somebody's going to say, oh yeah, but with a 3.5, and I've got some people that I coach now, and I got one who's just stuck, oh, but everybody in my neighborhood's doing it at 3.5%, I knew I'm going to. Hey, you keep that mindset up.
That's exactly how to be.
But here's the deal. I used to work in an office, and the office was right beside a Volkswagen dealership. They added a second dealership right there. It's an Audi dealership. What's the relationship between Audi and Volkswagen? They're the same car. In fact, the Volkswagen Passat is made in the Audi factory.
Yep.
And yet, if you watch the cars go in, more of them turned into Audi than turned into Volkswagen. What's the difference between Audi and Volkswagen? Audi is much more expensive. So don't tell me and this is not you that's telling me, but other, and people that I coach, that, oh, it's all about the price. No, it's not. But Audi wouldn't be able to charge more money if they couldn't prove their value, if they weren't different. And I'll tell you, if right across the street they added a third dealership, that was a Porsche dealership, there'd be a lot of cars pulling in there too. Once a Porsche, it's an expensive Audi. They're all the same manufacturer. So here's the thing, we have to decommoditize ourselves, but we have to prove it. And I know you've got something to get us started, because you're doing something that I think is great. And you brought it.
And I'm running. I'm a cheater here because of being on the directors. I knew that this was a topic, so I had some time to think about it and prepare and bring some stuff. Stop me at any point, because I have actually a number of things, but,
Is that anything to do with the cheater
Somebody
show?
take notes, because I can't take notes, I don't have a
Is that anything to do
whiteboard.
with the cheater show?
yeah, cheater and liar.
Does John know
I don't
about
think
it?
it is.
We have in our marketplace, we have a broker who is very wealthy with very deep pockets,
Can you stand at the front?
which,
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what,
Mine.
join me.
No, we could have.
if you don't mind, which is rare to have a broker that invests the kind of money he does, and unfortunately, it's not my broker. But they have raised the bar so high in our community as they are rapidly stealing market share, that it has forced all of us to really up our game. Before, you go to a listing presentation, you got your appointment. Now, you don't even get the appointment if you're in after them. The seller cancels your
Wow.
appointment. That's how powerful they are. So that made me start thinking 3 or 4 months ago, the things we were doing, like high definition photography and, the things, drones and our videos and our single property websites and stuff, that all seemed still new to me, are passé already in our marketplace. You have to up the game. So some of the things that they're doing that I've started adopting, little things, their listing presentation, they don't go in with a binder or a company folder. It's a leather-bound book. And you see it and it's like, wow, knocks your socks off. And right away you think Sotheby's, high-end, whatever. But this is a Royal LePage office that's doing it. It's Photo Books Canada. Anybody can do it, right? They've just bound it into a professional-looking presentation. That in itself won't win you the listing, but right off the top, it's an Audi experience, right, that you're delivering to the seller. Some of the things that I started doing that have worked really well is I tell them in the listing presentation about the comparables that are out there, that's their competition. Some of you don't have that in the GTA, but I tell them we're going to go for a ride in my car and we're going to look at them. That's a big thing. Nobody offers to take them to see the sale comparables, and they're curious as hell. And
Are you
so if
taking
I'm,
it in them?
yep, if I'm the only agent that's going to take them and show them property so they can actually see their comparables, that's a leg up. So that's one.
You driving them in an Audi?
I'm actually driving them in a Lexus, and I made sure it's really clean. You smell that leather, and you know the music's on the bridge.
You're my girl.
Mark, it's one of the things that I've always given to my sellers when I go into listing presentations, but I tell them I'm going to do it when we
Yes.
get the listing.
Right,
Do you
that's
do
what I
it?
do.
Okay,
No.
so I was
I
just
tell them
wondering if you
when.
did that by the way, okay.
It's teasers. You have to, it's just like if you have an appetizer, you want the rest of the plate, right, that's on there. Some of the other things that have really worked, I have 3 checklists everybody wants. One is a moving checklist. Moving is stressful, so putting yourself in the seller's shoes, what do I have to do to get ready for the, when I move, blah, blah. So I tell them, listen, you don't have to worry about anything. We're going to guide you. We have a closing coordinator. I'm there for you on the closing. But beyond that, we're going to give you a checklist of everything you need to do. Here it is, and we'll give that to you when we get to it, so I don't give it to them. Then number 2, more powerful, the security checklist. And it's in red, and it's actually in the Star Group box, Dropbox.
Donald Trump wrote it.
Yeah. How to keep ISIS from your house? No. Security checklist for when you have your house on the market. People don't even think of that until you show it to them, and then they're like, and then I put it away because it only goes to our clients. And the third one is a concierge checklist. So whether it's a lawyer, an insurance company, stagers, whatever, all our recommended trades, and I show it to them, but I don't give it to them, right? So They've now got 4 things that they want. They want those 3 checklists, they want to go see the comparables. The 5th thing I do is I offer to pay for a cleaning lady. Everybody else is offering to pay for a stager, staging consultation. I don't, I offer the cleaning person. Most people, that's a big stress to them. They're both working full-time, it's stressful having your house on the market, right? And I was thinking, what would I want? I want staging, but I'd also want a cleaner. Well, it cost me $100 to have somebody go and clean their house, not $1,000 to have it staged, so it also works well for me.
So is
But-
that just in the beginning, you have the one-time cleaning?
Yeah, just a one-time cleaning fee.
You know what?
The other thing is, it's stressful for sellers when their house is being shown, right? I feel violated having had my house on the market. That's the feeling I had. There were strangers in my house, and they were bringing my fridge and my cupboard, and it was a really awful experience for me. And I hated going out of the house. And I would sit in my car, and you wait, and I've been there, why are they in there so long? I didn't like it. It was negative. So what I did is I've got coffee carts. In my case, they're Starbucks. You can have them branded. It's at $2 a piece, which I haven't branded them. But I leave at the listing appointment. I leave them a coffee card. Now that I leave. I don't just say, if you list with me. I say, you know what? No matter who you list with, this is going to be really stressful. Best thing you can do is 2 of you go on out, have a cup of coffee, enjoy some time together, talk, then go for your drive, then go home.
Anybody hear the principle of reciprocity in that?
Yeah.
It's exactly what it is. And that is something nobody else.
Is that $20? How much is that? $20?
I do a $20 card on it. Yeah, I do a $20 card, but you can do whatever you want. Then there's other things that I do, but testimonials, I don't know if you guys are using Rank My Agent or not. I am. I'm up over, I think over 30 or 35 testimonials. They just start racking up. Well, I don't even know how it happens. But that's incredibly powerful. Another thing that I do that I tell them, because most of your competitors are not doing this, as we learned yesterday, I go in and tell them that I'm going to spend money. I'm not just going to put it on Facebook. I'm going to do a Facebook ad campaign and or Google AdWords, depending on it. I might only spend $30. I'm not telling them how much I'm spending. I just tell them I'm not just going to put it on Facebook. I'm actually going to pay to make sure that more eyes are on it. And you saw how to do it yesterday. It literally takes 5 minutes, and you can easily get 6,000-7,000 impressions in a couple of days on their listings. And then I have a snapshot of that I show people. This is what happens when we pay to boost your post over this. 17 views, right? See, this is what your competitors are doing, but I put my money where my mouth is. So 6,000 or 17, what do you want? They don't know how to do it, but now they want it, right?
That's
They
proof
want to
of
have
your
it done.
value.
And then the other thing is everybody's going to do a nice feature sheet that they're going to leave in their house for their multiple showings that first weekend. And I say, that used to impress me, but really now that's kind of passé. This is what we do. So this is Photobook Canada. Anybody can do it again. Very, very quick delivery. We have 6-day turnaround time on it. The pictures, now my assistant does it. She does the layout online on Photobook Canada. I'll pass this around. And so I take one of these on the listing presentation. A lot of times we don't even have time to get it done before the house is sold. But if you look at the back, thank you for allowing our team the privilege of assisting you in the sale of your home. It was truly a pleasure, courtesy of Mark Shaven 80 Bro. Every time that they look at it, I sign
Coffee
it
table book.
and I give it to them as a gift at the end. So if it's come later, they have it forever, and it's a coffee table book. They show everybody. Everybody goes, where'd you get that? And you know what, 6 months from now, this is going to be passé, but right now, if you have a listing presentation, don't you want that?
Okay, you're only doing one of those though, right?
So you,
No, well, when I have them
2.
printed, I do 2 right away,
Okay.
3 off the top. I'll tell you why we do 3. We leave one in the house, and it tends to get beat up, but it's the one that's in the house.
Right.
We have one that we're going to give them on closing,
Yeah.
and this is a bit sneaky, but we give one to the buyer as well.
Yeah.
We leave one in the house even though they're not our agent. Oh, we thought you might want to have an extra copy.
Yeah.
Mm.
Is it okay if we give
I
it?
like it.
Anyway, so those are a few ideas I wanted to
That's
pass on.
awesome.
And
How
that's
much are those books?
I,
$25.
20, yeah.
Tell you how many
20,
pages you put in it.
Yeah.
so you bring
And then you get
That's
coupons, and you get free ones.
Okay, Jonathan?
I bring
Just
one.
an add-on to Marge's, the, sorry, it's free lists. the moving checklist.
Yeah.
I mean, MoveSnap is unbelievable and it's free, guys. And it impresses the hell out of the seller.
What is it?
Move snap.
MoveSnap, remember we presented it?
Yeah.
It's an online
It-
checklist.
Yeah, it's not free anymore, and if you want it branded, but it's very nominal.
Right.
And you can blame me for that, I coached him to get better stuff out of it.
It prompts
Move
you
Snap.
for every single little tiny thing
Move Snap.
that they need to do, from driver's license, moving address, to you name it, it's on there.
The client's response has been really significantly good.
Yeah.
Here, I can pass them.
Because it just helps them encapsulate the process, and I'm working with Ruben to keep adding things to it that, you know, you think of. And if any ideas that you have, he's open to improving it.
Okay. I think Nancy was first.
When Mark was talking there about paying for a clean lady, the advantage of that too is not everybody's idea of a clean house is the same, so you know things are sparkling, and you don't have to walk in and try to say something to them, so that's nice.
Peter?
Before I talk about what we're going to talk about, you're hooked up to the monitor, right? With your iPad or computer?
My computer is sleeping at the moment, but it
Is
can
that
wait.
Rick and Hey Rick over there? I just want to send you a picture so you can put it up.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah, just send it by
Okay.
email.
Yes, when you get it, let me know.
ricksurgison@gmail.com would be safer.
Okay.
Michelle?
So I do my own staging and my own feng shui stuff because I've taken shitloads of courses and I just know what the hell I'm doing. And I make them take stuff out and I declutter everything and then I pay $150 either towards a painter or somebody to fix stuff. So I find that incredibly valuable. Well, my clients find it very valuable because there's always something they have to tweak or fix or align a cabinet or something. So I send my trades guy in who gives me a discount, and the first $150 I pay for. So, and the last one, I actually went to Canadian Tire for her because she was so stressed out and it was last minute, and got her the knobs for the kitchen to just update the kitchen. And she literally had tears in her eyes when I brought her the knobs. I go, listen, I know you're busy, I know you didn't have time. I went to pick these up. She goes, how much? Just tell me how much, I'll give you the money. I said, nope, they're on me. And she was just beside herself. So little things, just thinking about the client and the time that they have to get the place ready. It's so stressful, there's so much to do. So depending on who the person is, I may hire a cleaner if the place is, well, sometimes it offends the client. You gotta look at who the client is, right? Sometimes they're like, well, what do you mean I need a cleaner? Right? If they look like Martha Stewart, that may not be the right person to give the 150. So you may want to use it for something else.
Ivan?
Or often another choice.
Here's not so much an idea, but just camping on what Michelle just said. She just said there, I know what I'm doing. If you just go in there with that conviction, it doesn't matter what you bring to the table, the sign, this or that. You have to come in with conviction, you know. And I said that before at the meetings. You come in with your best case in your toolbox. And for me, now I'm camping on fact. 27 years, 1307. I know what I'm talking about, okay? You're paying me 5% because I've gone through all the frickin' problems. So you hire me versus the 3.5% or the 2%, that's the difference. So whatever it is, you come in with power. You come in with knowing, you say you know what you're doing.
Well, and that's
huge.
And it is, and I mean, even take the Volkswagen Audi comparison. Audi blew it at one point, and they've taken years to rebuild that trust because they say, oh no, we know what we're doing, and they had a bunch of cars that were moving forward on their own, and rather than fix the problem and take care of those people, they blew it because they just said, oh no, not our call, and the next thing you know, and they've rebuilt it and they make a quality car, and that's. But part of it is, they tell you that. It's an interesting, there's another book called The Paradox of Excellence. I don't remember who wrote it. You don't need to buy it because I'll tell you what the whole story is. And it's one of those fabled written stories. And the big aha moment comes at the boardroom, and one of the, minions says, oh, well, no, the reason we lost them is because, yeah, we had all these things. Everybody was looking and saying, why did that client go to that no-name company? And the person that's on the front line said, oh, it was really simple. We never told them that we did all of that stuff and more, because what do we do when we have new clients? They hear everything that we do. Do our past clients, I don't like that word, do our inactive clients ever hear that you've added something? Do all of your clients know that when they list with you, they get that book? Why not?
Right, that's a really good.
So the first newsletter I did after reading The Paradox of Excellence is I sent out my newsletter and said, oh, by the way, I make these cool signs now. And I keep putting it in every once in a while. Because The Paradox of Excellence, the only thing it's going to teach you is that when you add value to your services, you have to let your existing clientele know.
It's a great idea. How about a newsletter? Do it in a newsletter.
Absolutely.
Do it in a video.
In a video, even better. Because here's,
I get doing it in the video. 'cause I'm
Here's the
gonna be
challenge.
My monthly video at the end of the month. And
you sold a young couple a house 10 years ago. They've never sold a house. They bought that one and they're still in it. And now they're going to move. Somebody knocks on their door and says, oh, well, I have a website. Oh, wow, well, Rick's never told me he has a website. I guess we should list with you. Because you've never told them all the great things that you're adding. So keep in mind, when we add all this stuff together, and all the things, and even if you pick up on 2 or 3 ideas, because I'm going to do that now, and say, okay, but I do this. I want all my clients to know that I do that, even if we haven't done a transaction in 24 years.
And pay attention also when you're going to the listing presentation on how you actually speak, because you'll see that if you really listen, or if you were able to record it, you would say something like, oh, when you decide to list your home, what are you going to, no, speak as if like, when I'm going to put your house on the market, when I'm listing, speak as if you have to list it. That's a big,
I have to say too, going in confident without being arrogant is very important.
and that's
There's
a
a fine
line.
line,
This
and you
is-
have to be very careful
And
about
once
that
you're on
fine
that
line.
edge, you've got that cutting edge, you've got that edge to get the business, and get the good business, get the good clients.
They want somebody who knows what they're doing, they just don't want somebody telling them what to do.
My accountant,
It's gotta be a team effort.
my accountant always says, because I go and see him, once in a while, oh, God, you're expensive. He says, no, and he says, turns around, he says, you're just arguing with me, about this fact, but he says, in a sense, people are begging to be led.
So yeah, that's why we're here.
Oh, yeah.
This and that. They're begging to be led.
Yeah. Peter, can you explain what this
Yeah,
is?
so just, I use this as part of my listing presentation, it's a zero cost item, it's, when I'm talking to the seller, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, many agents go out and actually look at comparable properties before they say they're going to put the house on the market. Well, I take it one step further. Actually take a picture of every agent that's been through all comparable homes and contact those agents. So when your house comes on the market, when you list with me, there's 20 to 30 agents that already know what the house can go on.
Awesome. I like that. I like that.
I've said that like 3 times here.
Have you?
Yeah.
You didn't have a picture.
Oh,
See? Visual, I'm visual.
So-
I did a video with it.
But I show them the picture.
Yeah.
He did.
I have it printed in my.
As I say, we have to add value, and then you have to
let them know.
prove it.
Peter, can you just repeat that in a loud voice for the video?
Say again?
Repeat what you said in a loud voice.
Sure. So in the listing presentation, as part of the value proposition, I tell them that while many agents go out and view properties, comparable properties to yours, to get a comparable price, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what I do is a little extra. I actually take a picture of all the realtors that have been through those comparative homes, and I contact those realtors to let them know your house is coming on the market with me.
Beautiful.
And you don't show the picture too long so that they can jot down, okay, then there's,
Yeah, it's
I like
not
this
that
part.
fire,
It's
yeah,
the
not the, I
What?
actually,
Okay.
yeah, it's not,
It's not the content.
yeah.
Okay, what else is somebody doing that we all could do?
I literally copied Mark and Ivan about a year ago. I said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm really actually going to do this. And we came up with, because I was leaving a lot of expensive stuff at listing presentations. I thought, this is ridiculous. I'm not leaving all this anymore. So Mark had this amazing brochure, and it was cut this size, so it's not a normal size. And I'm still working on it because We have way too much information in the middle.
Oh my God, that looks familiar.
It's identical. So, my daughter took the pictures of the house, that's the client's house, and then we used the lake as well. So she went out and, so this is like a multi-million-dollar property on the lake, which a client said, I can use it for advertising and everything. So we're doing our branding, we're working on everything, and this just talks about me and my team and what we do, and I can leave it with them. Because I don't want a 2-hour listing presentation anymore. I want to be in 30 minutes. I don't have a lot of talk time, believe it or not, anymore. I have one vocal cord, so.
Oh,
I have a question for Mark. So do you leave the book instead of feature sheets, or you did both?
No.
We still have feature sheets, but we have that as a presentation.
This is part of her listing presentation. It talks about who Mark is and
No,
what she is.
the
No,
book
the
though, that
book.
you're asking about, the
Yeah.
book is left at the house with the feature sheet.
I love it.
But that's after
I
it's been
freaking
listed.
love this idea.
But I have one right now that's listed, we've actually made that like a showing binder. It's got even utilities and everything all in the book. And it's called a showing binder, so now when agents come through, they can take the book and walk through the house with it. It does a room by room review, and it stays
Brilliant
with the
idea.
house.
Is there any agent taking it?
I wasn't done.
Nobody's taken it out of the house, no.
What would be the issue, or is there an issue, working with a buyer, selling the house, grabbing all the pictures and creating one for the buyer yourself, even though they're not your pictures? Is that legal?
You need permission from the seller, I think.
so
leave one there?
Well, what they're doing is leaving just a copy of the book. As the buyer agent, could you go in and take pictures
Grab
of,
the pictures off MLS and create a book for the buyer. Maybe
Oh.
you-
as the buyer agent?
As a gift, give it to your buyer on closing.
But as the buyer agent, no, you cannot, because of trademark legislation or copyright.
That's what I thought.
You have to get permission, not only from the seller and the listing agent, but likely from the photographer as well, and the photographer probably holds copyright to the images.
Well, I say it's mine in intellectual property.
Yeah, it depends on your photographer and what your contract is with them, but usually the rights stay with the photographer, whoever took the picture. But, yeah, I mean,
Forgiveness.
what a
Yeah,
great
they asked
idea.
for- yeah,
But
forgiveness
if,
then.
I think it's fine print, this is illegal, but anyways.
yeah, but if you were to call me and say, hey, Rick, I really liked working with you last night, I'm glad I sold your listing. Listen, I want to do this for my buyer, do you mind? I'd go,
Sure.
let me talk to the seller. I know, hey, no, go for it. You just have to make sure, and I'd say, good, can you send me an email that I'm able to do that, because you want it in
Well,
writing?
well, let me just say, we have a Schedule C in our
Yeah.
listing presentation that allows both the listing and the operating to market and use after the sale, as long as it doesn't contravene any of the privacy.
Because it's not legal.
That's totally-
That's why we don't do it, because the offer cannot have anything to do with the
It's not the
agent.
offer, it's the listing.
The listing,
Listing.
yeah, same thing you're
It's
gonna get
still
into.
belongs
Rico's
to the
gonna say, no, you can't force, and put under duress
They don't
a
have to
buyer
sign
or
it.
something.
They
Oh, no, I
haven't
know,
choose yet.
but,
So, Zan, actually, what my broker created was an addendum to the
Agreement.
deal, nothing to do with the brokerage house,
Mhm.
saying that it is between the buyer and the seller.
You could do that.
And that's the only way around it.
You can't.
Schedule C, you can't do it.
you can't bring the
As part of a
agent's
listing?
relationship into it.
No,
Yeah, it's-
separate.
It's
Even
attached
that
to
word,
the schedule, or you can tell that here it is on the offer, right? Please have your client sign this, whichever.
Oh, that's
Let's
nice.
face it though, the night of the deal, and everybody's huggy-kissy, and you
That's
say,
when you
hey,
get it signed.
would you mind if we did that, and have a permission slip already prepared?
Yeah.
I like to do this to surprise my buyers. Would you mind if I used your
You'd
photos?
be proud of it, sure.
And they go, oh, no, that's great. And they look at their agent and say, well, you didn't do that for us. and the agent say, sure you can I steal that idea? You go, of course you can. I mean, so
But
that's when you
still
do
the
these things.
photographer, the pictures might still belong to the photographer.
Make sure that you deal with a photographer that will waive their rights to those pictures.
And then let the sellers know you're gonna, they give them a copy too as the buyers.
Anyway, yeah, just when you're working your deal with a photographer, say, by the way, if you take these pictures and I'm paying, do I own the pictures? If they say no, say, you might want to rethink that because now I have to call a different photographer, and they go, I just rethought it, yes. Okay, if they want the business, they will. Jonathan?
Yeah, I was just gonna add what Peter said about this. I'd also say that I pull all the sold and expires, the ones that I can't get into, and take the photos of the cards. that I call all of them and make them aware of everything in the past 60 days that relates similar price points, similar to their home in that area, in that pocket. And
That have already sold similar properties.
sold or expired, terminated,
Mhm.
all three. And
Yeah.
they're just like, and I show them my list, and I show them all my notes and messages and voicemails, and then I say, I find out what their cell phones are, I go on their websites, and I'll just page them.
I've been
Or
called,
I just email them, because
Yeah.
if you email an agent about it, usually you'll get flack and take me off your list.
I've been called by another agent on a listing that I've sold, and they said, I see you went on multiples, I'm listing basically the same property. Do you mind asking who had the offers? I said, sure, no problem. I said, just preface that, hey, hope you don't mind, Rick told me that you had an offer because I may have a house for your buyer. If I'm working with a buyer, I go, great, I know about a property that's coming up in 3 days before anybody else. But anyway, I had no problems giving that information.
Yeah, 20% of the time you'll get it, and 80% of the time the agent will go, sir, I can get it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
So,
And they say it's brokerage policy, or they say some lame thing on
yes. Okay, what else has anybody got? What else is somebody doing that's
I
just,
have 3 really good ones. And I've discussed this with you guys before, but if anybody wants these sheets, let me know. These 3 things consistently get me the deal. And I probably get 95% of the listings I ever go for. I don't do any marketing though. Like I don't door knock, none of that. It's all referred business, so just understand. Like 95% of all referred business, whether they're interviewing other agents or not, is what I get. The first, I always say, I'm sure you're going to be interviewing other agents. These are the questions that I would be asking if I was a consumer. Now that I'm a realtor and I know the inside scoop about the things that are going to matter to you when the rubber hits the road, these are the things that are going to matter. And I ask a series of 9 questions, and they're all very revealing questions. And I'd say the most important is how long have they been in the business? And then I tell them the statistics about the retention, which is horrible. And then I ask them if, can I get out of the listing, which is, okay, so I'm not going to read them all to you, you're going to die of boredom.
Can you put them on
I
Facebook?
can send them to you guys.
yeah, thank you.
The cancellation agreement, the most important question I ask them, can I get out of the listing? And I actually say to them, most agents will list your property, put a sign on your property, you'll never hear from them again until you have an offer. Most of them are terrible at response time. So if you sign this cancellation agreement, this will trump any listing agreement that you make with me. I've never ever once had a client act on this, and they sign it every single time I sign a listing with them. That's their get out of jail free card. That's what I tell them.
But you
And they
can't
laugh.
tell, you can't say that other agents and most agents won't do this or they're bad or you can't say that.
Yes, I do. I say most agents will not call you back until they have an offer on your property, and I've never heard, I've never heard of any other agent that has a cancellation agreement.
But if
There might
any
be
other
some.
agent heard that, they could,
No.
How was I gonna hear that?
Dale Dyer, call you back.
I was just saying any
Slut.
other.
I'm saying I've never heard of another agent that
Okay.
does this. That's it. That's huge for them, because that's guarantee you're gonna actually walk the talk, right?
Okay, and just to back that up, just to on my point, if you go to NAR's report, annual report, it says the #1 complaint that sellers has, they never heard from the agent again.
Hello, thank you very much.
So that backs you up.
And I say that to them, that is the #1 complaint
It is the #1 complaint.
people have, is that they never hear from their agents.
Statistically.
Once they have it locked into a contract, good luck complaining about that.
I
You're
just
not gonna have a
finished, I
chance.
just finished the transaction, and we had a week delay on the closing, and they were like, I bet I sent 3 texts a day to the seller. And he said, I've never had that. I've done so many investment properties over the years. He says, I called one of my agents, and some of you will know him, so I won't say who it was. 3 days later, he called me back.
Yeah.
3 days
Never mind, I
later.
sold my own restaurant. The agent was on his way to the frickin' cottage, and the buyer of my restaurant was Sri Lankan, who didn't speak a word of English, and he was sending him off to see the person that owned the building to interview without being there, and he was driving to the cottage. 10% commission, ladies and gentlemen. Next. One more thing. Why do you want to use me to sell your property? I actually have statistical information about my listings last year and how it compares to the average Toronto Real Estate Board agent. These are real-time statistical information. What did my listings sell for compared to the average? What did my listings, how fast did I sell my listings compared to how long does it take for the average real estate agent? And I always tell them 97% of my business is referral repeat. And then I follow that up with a whole bunch of referrals. recommendation letters here. I also have a stack of an advocate binder that I bring with me that has about 300 advocate client surveys that they can read through, and I leave it with them. So I have to come back. That's the other thing that's beautiful. I leave it with them and I go, I'll be back for this when I sign the listing with you, right? That's it. Those are the most important ones. I just wanted to share those with you because those have been extremely effective.
Michelle, is it a conversation or is any of this in writing?
It's all in writing and it's a
Can
conversation.
you leave it for them?
Yeah, that's their copy, absolutely.
So you have red and black.
Yeah,
What's the difference?
so the red is the answers, the black is the questions.
And you leave them the answers to the question.
I leave them the whole package. This is what I leave. This is my pre-listing.
Just in an aside from that, there's a second list that you need, and it's questions not to answer a realtor. So I like to get in first, and I want to be in first because frankly, if I can nail the listing and they're signing the listing, and one of the reasons that they don't want to sign right then is because, well, we promised another agent or another two agents that we would talk to them before we signed anything, and then you can go into the questioning. Well, is there any reason that you would choose somebody else? Is there anything no? Said, is it out of the fact that you really don't want to make that phone call that is stopping you from signing now because you really don't want to tell them that you're canceling the appointment? A lot of people, remember, 59% of our universe are S's. They don't want to make that call. They're largely nonverbal. So if you say, well, if you like, I can cancel the appointments for you, that may be their only objection, and they go, oh, would you? Okay, yeah, we'll sign. So don't miss that one. But and this is a blog post I put on my blog. Sometimes what you say can be used against you. So here I'm sitting in front of them. I already know what their reason for selling is. I already know what they're expecting price-wise and everything else. And then if they say, no, sorry, we're still interviewing other agents, I say, well, then there's one more thing I should do to help you. I gave you a list of questions you should be asking the agents, because I have a very similar list, and of course, I shine in every question because I get to pick questions. I'm not stupid, right? If you're a new agent, you wouldn't ask them how much experience they have or how many years they've been in the business. It would work against you. I can say that because as of August the 8th, I've been registered, there's no license. I've been registered since August the 8th of 40 years ago. So my 40th anniversary actually comes up in a couple of weeks. Anyway, and you can go to ricksurgison.com and scroll down and you'll find this blog, or I can repost it. But what it says is, remember, until you have signed a listing agreement with the real estate agent, everything you say can and will be used against you. So when they ask, why are you moving, if you don't list with them, and they end up with a buyer, they have a legal obligation to tell the buyer what they know. Oh yeah, they're getting divorced. We could probably go with a lower offer. So part of that, and I hate to feel like Mr. Trump, but part of that is instilling some fear that they have to be careful what they say. Now, they can take that and they can go and interview another agent. But what happens when the agent comes and sits down at their kitchen table and says, so why are you moving? It doesn't matter. Okay. Well, what do you think the house is worth for? That's your job. We're not going to answer. That's going to make for a very uncomfortable listing presentation to the person behind me. Okay, because I'm going to tell them, you should not be answering these questions because they don't work, they have nothing to do with the value of your home, and they have nothing to do with their marketing that's going to do. So, hey,
I like that.
You might as well set your competition up for failure. I'm not trying to be nasty. And people say, oh, I want to go last. Yeah, I want to go last too. And first. Same appointment. I plan on ending it right there. So that's, and I blogged it. I got an interesting response from a number of agents because this is on Active Rain with 300,000 agents. And some of them absolutely loved it and some of them thought that was despicable. Hey, okay. But so there's the next. the next list, when they say, oh no, I still have to interview, well, here's some questions that you really shouldn't be answering.
Do you
'cause
have
they
a
don't-
list of those questions?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
Can you send them to
It's
us?
probably in the blog, but I can send you the list.
Yeah.
Send it all to
You only
Laura.
mention that if you don't get the listing on the first.
Sorry, Jonathan?
You only mention that if you don't get the listing on the first time around.
Absolutely,
No,
absolutely.
you give them the list of questions so that the next agent that comes
No,
in the
I'm saying
door.
Only if he doesn't get the listing.
Only if I don't
Oh,
get the listing. And they say, no, we're still, because I've already said, hey, I'll phone and cancel those other appointments for you.
Uh-huh.
No, I think we need to, okay. If you're absolutely set on that, I want to help you further. Here's a list that you shouldn't be answering because it's working against you.
I want to help you further.
I want to help you further. Okay? Anyway,
No self-interest.
Let me make sure the other guy doesn't get this listing.
hey,
all these questions for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, I already have all the answers, but I point out to them, you see, and you know, if I have a buyer, I'd be working against you, and you really don't want a whole bunch of, so don't interview a whole bunch of agents,
But then the bad.
because the whole
thing is what
community's gonna be working against you.
What happens if you're dual agency?
Dual agency.
Then you can't.
What happens if I'm a dual agent? I don't do dual agency.
Oh, okay.
I refuse to do dual agency. I will do a customer. I will advise that they get their own agent. And I explain why. And honestly, that's the biggest part of my listing presentation. And when I talk about that, I say, I will never work against you. You are my client. You will be my only client. And I explain corporate dual agency and say, not really worried about that, and we wouldn't want to take my 400 agents and tell them they couldn't sell your house. That would be counterproductive. But you need to know I will always have your best interest and only your best interest. And it's interesting because I've had one instance where they said, well, we talked to another guy and he bragged about that he double-ended all his deals. And I went, well, who's he working for?
So
So-
what would you do if you had a buyer under contract and you listed something appropriate?
What I would probably do is refer one or the other, and probably the buyer. I've had that happen where I had a couple, I had sold their first house, sold that when they moved to Ottawa, referred them to Ottawa. When they moved back, double-ended the one in Pickering, and then they ended up coming into an open house later and bought that. And then I sold that for them last year and moved them out to Welland, frankly.
Well, what happened?
I said, you know how I work? And they said, it's okay, we'll be customers, we trust you. And on the last one, they said, you know what, to make it really easy on you because they understood it, they said, we're willing to offer this and not a penny more, see if your sellers will take it. My sellers, which wanted $5,000 less, said, of course we will. And that was fine, as long as everything's set up in properly. But I will not do a dual agency. If I was forced to, here's the answer. It's going to be conditional on independent legal counsel for both parties after all other conditions are met. So if it's conditional on financing and conditional on home inspection, it's going to be, so say 5 days conditional home inspection, 5 days conditional on financing, 7 days conditional on seller's lawyer's approval, 7 days conditional buyer's lawyer approval. I want them to have independent legal counsel because I've been in court. Fortunately, I only had to pay for parking, but I've been there a couple of times as a broker record. And when the judge turns to me and pulls my butt up beside him and says, so you slimeball, no good, low-life real estate agent that makes all sorts of money and far too much of it, what did you tell your clients? I told them to go talk to their lawyer. Oh, thank you very much. You can sit down. Can I talk to the low-life sleazeball lawyer and have him come up here, please? What did you tell your client? I've deferred the agency and the responsibility to get independent legal counsel.
Yep.
And the deal is firm as soon as both the lawyers say, yep, that's cool. Now I've covered myself.
So if you have a buyer like Marge said under agency, if you have a buyer under agency, like Marge said, for your listing, they want your listing, and you refer to the colleague in your office, I'm assuming a colleague in your office.
Well, I can either do that, or as I say, I can, if one is willing to be a customer instead of a client, or I can do independent legal counsel after the fact. Something is going to happen.
Well, which would be very difficult to do on a multiple offers with 16 offers against the agent.
When that happens in my situation, what I do is I refer that buyer to one of the colleagues in my office.
And you make what?
Sorry?
You lose 50%?
No, yeah, I say 50%, but at the end of the day, it's just covering your ass is more important. And I don't want him to tell me anything with regards to that offer, because it's happened to me recently, and they didn't win either. But he's free to work with that buyer and pay me a referral if he can go with it. And that's all I'm concerned with.
Yeah, I've done my own with my offer as a customer in a multiple offer. I did not win. And part and parcel of that is, and I do not change my commission when I own it in a multiple offer. It's locked in.
It's actually a rule with my brokerage. You're not allowed to adjust your commission whatsoever in a
Yeah,
multiple.
and I feel the same way too. I just recently double-ended one of my own listings, and pretty much I said to the buyer, let me explain how multiple representation works, but because I've already have a history with this couple, they bought my listing, etc., we're going to do customer treatment. Do you have a problem with that? No, I just want to buy the property.
Yeah.
And
And,
I don't
as I
understand
said,
what-
and even when I have somebody go as a customer, and what you'll see in the offer is I put right in there, the buyer acknowledges that the listing brokerage and listing sales representative represents the sole interests of the seller and has been advised to seek independent legal counsel. And then right underneath it says, this agreement is conditional upon approval of the transaction by the buyer's legal representative.
If you're not in.
They can stroke it if they want. But yeah, no, I won't do it if they're not going to get independent legal counsel.
I don't belabor the point or argue about anything, but I think if you refer a buyer and you take anything, whether it's within, you refer to someone in your office or refer to someone outside your office, should something go off the rails, you're on the hook. And you're
Yes.
still exposed.
Yes, you are. And that's.
We're way off track.
Yes, we are. Let's get back to who's doing stuff that's really cool.
No, sorry, can you just put those clauses on our Facebook? The ones that you use for dual agents?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I just talked about being belonging to Joe's coaching for the last 15 years and this wonderful group of Star Group. And
Yep.
how much we learn and try to enhance, sell the house faster and a little bit for more money. And if you have anybody who's moving outside of our marketplace, of 35 great agents.
How many of you, when you came here and you had to say, clients, oh, I'm going to a conference in Blue Mountain for the next 2 days, and the customer went, that'll be fun. Like, good, I go have fun, leave me. And I tell them flat out, I do more work in this 2 days than I probably do on any other 2 days in my business, and I prove it. And I tell them, in fact, the owner of My Remax, and I was on my way up here, and I mentioned, he said, oh, well, go have fun. I said, well, it's not fun. It is, but the focus is, I said, where do you think I get all these ideas that I'm training your agents from?
Sitting on both sides.
This is how I do it. So yeah, again, this is such a valuable resource, and we don't play it up enough.
We also have to mention the fact, I always pay for a staging consultation. I'm flat out, no matter what. And you're always ecstatic about that. I don't pay for the staging, of course. But
I do the same exact thing, and part of the reason why is because I want the baggage. If the seller takes offense to it, I want the baggage to go out the door with the stager. And usually when you've got a situation, it's like a FSBO. How many people are really a FSBO? Just one of the two, right? Well, the same thing is, and I had one couple, she was into crafts massively, like beyond all belief.
One of those.
Yeah, everything, there were crafts everywhere. In fact, you couldn't see the fireplace because she had crafts all on the mantle, all around the bottom, including a picket fence that she had handmade and hand-painted. And I'm trying to get her to unclutter. And I had an agent open house back in the days when we used to do those, and one of the agents said flat out, are you selling crafts or are you selling the house? So when she came back in and I'm packing up the lunch, and she said, so what was the response? I said, well, they like your home, and I gave her the nice piece. I said, but I got to tell you, and I know we've mentioned it, but one of the agents, and this is a direct quote, are you selling crafts or are you selling your home? And she's getting all showroom. And the husband behind is going,
I told you, honey.
when I went back, probably 70% of them had been packed away.
just, if you were to take that a step back, like I had the same situation with quilting. There was these huge quilts everywhere, and burgundy paint, and it was insane. And she's like a 4-season, dressed up her house every season, like you have no idea. So my stager gave her the bad news and did the whole line with her. She didn't hire the stager. She was pissed at her, but we ended up doing everything she said.
And usually the one that isn't obsessed is going, thank you. So,
I don't want to get off track, but just a real quick that I learned this year, we all had the hoarder situation. Oh my gosh, dreadful, and I gently pointed out that they needed to do decluttering, and when she said to me, really? I was like, oh my God, she really doesn't see it, and I couldn't get her to understand it, and then I read something, and man, did this work. When people are looking at a photograph, you're seeing in 1D or 2D, whereas real life you're seeing in 3D, maybe 4D. And suggested taking a picture. So that's what I did. I took a picture of the very house she lives in and sees every day. I took a picture and then I put it up against a picture of a listing that I had that had been staged.
That's a great idea.
And showed the contrast, and she went, oh my God, is that my house?
I love
It
it.
blew me away. So showing them a picture of their own house, try it, really. Like,
Oh, that's a great
I'm
idea.
gonna do that this weekend and
Yeah.
order it.
It's
ask your stager for before and after photos, because they're right in my listing presentation. And in one of them, Elvis has left the building. That's my favorite one, because Elvis
Here this
there's a
weekend.
bust of Elvis behind the couch, and Elvis has left the building.
Recently, I sold a house like that, I mean, they didn't want to declutter, and, you know, but I had to take the pictures, so I took the pictures anyway, and I made a brochure. So finally, I convinced them, yeah, you know, get it done. I said, oh my God, this is what you've done here is just fabulous. Order more pictures again, do another brochure. Now I've got those 2 brochures to go on my presentation.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's what the other
yes.
this is unlike that.
Yeah, before and after.
I have to say this, this is a really good story, okay? So there's an old man named Mr. Essen, and I'm listing his California bungalow in Etobicoke.